Greetings, dear viewers. My name is Luc Tessier, and this is A Form of Sound Words. Last week, we considered the harsh treatment of a university professor in my city and the overall political and cultural climate responsible for his firing and cancellation. Overall, it was one of my most popular videos. I think such stories are all too familiar, and the counterculture is already forming. A counterculture, I fear, may end up being just another form of awful. Such is often the case with pendulum swings. Last week, I offered a warning. This week, I offer a solution. This solution isn't a political one. Politics is actually a source of all our problems. The solution isn't a cultural one. Our present culture also is part of all our problems. Our problems are very much spiritual. So I offer a spiritual solution. Grace. Yes, grace. The secular definition of grace is courteous goodwill. The biblical definition is better. Unmerited favor. In my house, when a member of the family does a random act of kindness and someone asks why he or she did that, the answer is typically just because. That's grace. Being kind, good, courteous, loving, just because. Grace is in short supply in our world today. Sadly, with affluence and peace, which the West has enjoyed for generations now, comes self-centeredness and a sense of entitlement. And when anything frustrates that self-centeredness, when the self-entitlement isn't realized, then grows what the Bible calls the root of bitterness. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 14 and 15 says, "Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord, looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled." Over time, that root pushes deeper and deeper within the human heart, and all that comes forth from such a soul is bitterness, envy, and strife. As says James chapter 3, verse 14 to 16. "But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work." And you don't need to be an evangelical Christian like me to see this is the wisdom of our modern era. I was watching this video by fellow YouTuber and medical doctor, Dr. Mike, where his guest, a Jewish atheist, said this.
And so the ancients tell us things like, judge not lest ye be judged. Be slower to judge, quicker to forgive, love your neighbor, be more like. This is the urging we get from many traditions, East and West. And what does a life on social media do? The exact opposite. Judge immediately, judge right now, because if you don't judge now, people are going to judge you for not judging, like you just said about, 13-year-old kids not having a position on Gaza. So a life on social media encourages immediate judgment, harsh judgment, cruel judgment, no context, no subtlety or nuance, no forgiveness. So it's horrible. It's the exact opposite of what our wisdom traditions tell us.
Now, compare this way of bitterness to the way of grace described in verse 17 and 18 of James chapter 3. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. Now, what exactly am I saying? How does grace apply in a world of inequity and discrimination? How does it help us when a university teacher shares an unpopular opinion? Allow me to demonstrate how it's done. Remember this picture? When a short video clip came out of this young man smirking at a native man chanting in front of him, the world lost its mind. Immediately, the assumption was this was a white teenager mocking a native elder. It was a judgmental, unfavorable, and unkind assumption. When a longer video was later released, it became clear that the native man had instigated the confrontation. And the boy wasn't mocking. He was uncomfortably smiling at a situation he clearly wasn't equipped to deal with. Look at this picture here. Some will look at this business meeting and will immediately notice and point out the lack of racial and gender representation around the table as a sign of racism, prejudice, and bias. How does one get to that conclusion? A simple, quick scan of skin color, a quick scan of the genders represented. Talk about low resolution analysis. How do we know this is an example of bias or racism? Maybe all these people are family members having built a family business. Maybe these 4 white dudes are old college buddies who got together and built a small business. Maybe still, these are the best men for the job. Now look at this picture. Oh, now here's trouble, right? Many who would walk up to 4 young black men like this would assume trouble. Why? How does one get to that conclusion? Same as before. a quick scan of age, gender, and skin color. Low-res thinking. Prejudiced and unkind judgment. How does grace make things better? In all of the examples we just considered, imagine giving the benefit of the doubt, and that not grudgingly, but honestly and kindly. Imagine not impugning evil or evil motives on people, but rather assuming the best of intentions, unless explicitly proven otherwise. Imagine a world where people don't reflexively give way to envy, jealousy, bitterness, and self-righteous anger. Do you not think that such a grassroots, bottom-up movement would have a transformative effect on our respective societies? But Luke, you might say, showing blanket grace to one and all like that, it will no doubt let bad actors get away with it. Grace will often be given to guilty, wicked, and undeserving people. To that I say, you're correct. Showing grace, like I'm suggesting, will undoubtedly, occasionally benefit the undeserving. That's not a bug, it's a feature. Consider a good judicial system. How do we judge criminal suspects? Do we assume guilt and then the suspect must prove his innocence? Or do we assume innocence and prosecutors must prove guilt? If we accept that the latter is best, do we not also assume that some guilty suspects will occasionally get away with it? Of course we do. It is best to occasionally see a guilty party get away with it if it means no innocent person is harmed. Like this example, the benefits of showing grace always outweighs the occasional evil person getting away with it. Don't worry, bad actors in time are always found out. We needn't jump the gun and assume evil before the time. To the unbelieving watching this video, I know and I understand how foolish my thesis may seem to you. Like many spiritual truths, like being kind to our enemies, or giving being more blessed than receiving, this grace business isn't at all intuitive. To my fellow saints watching this, you know grace works because you recognize it's the only way you have a relationship with the living God today. As pointed out in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, for by grace are ye saved, through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 44 to 45, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Christians, genuine Christians, are gracious because God is gracious. It doesn't take long for even a new Christian to realize that grace works. It truly is the balm that heals the deepest spiritual wounds and ailments. We need more grace in our world, lots more. Will you, dear viewers, show grace to your fellow man this week and into the future? Will you resist the urge to judge quickly and unrighteously? Will you forego low-resolution judgments, always assuming good unless proven otherwise? And with those challenges, dear viewers, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.